Hare Krishna. In today's video, I'll try to cover what is considered as spiritual knowledge or Gyana, as explained by the Lord in Bhagabat Gita. In Bhagavat Gita, Lord explains what is Gyana or what is spiritual knowledge and what is the objective of Gyana, what is the source of Gyana, and what happens when one receives Gyana or when Gyana awakens. In chapter 4, I think it is 37, 38, 39, 40, those verses explains beautifully about what is Gyana and what is its source. And then in chapter 13, it also explains in details about Gyana, and it talks about what is the ultimate objective of Gyana. When one acquires Gyana, what is the objective for which Gyana is acquired and what it does. Let's first find out what is Gyana. In chapter 4, Lord said that Gyana is like a fire. He says, just like well-kindled fire sticks can be burned into ashes. By little fire, you put the fire in a heap of fire stick and they'll be all burnt into ashes. Just like that, when Gyana awakens in the heart of a man, it burns all his sins. So that's the power of Gyana. When Gyana awakens in the heart of a person, the spiritual knowledge, or this energy which is considered to be Gyana, when that awakens in the heart of a person, it burns all his karma, all his sins are burned and becomes pure. And Lord says that is nothing as purifying as Gyana. So that's the power of the Gyana. And what is the source? And Lord says the source of Gyana is Atman, the self, in the heart. You have yourself, and that self is the source of Gyana. And how one awakens the Gyana and how one receives the Gyana, he explains that just in 2 verses. He says, Shraddhavan lavate Gyanam. He's saying through devotion, through faith, through worshipping the Lord. Through that, the Gyana awakens in the heart of a person. He's saying one who doesn't have devotion, he can never get Gyana. It's impossible. And without Gyana, without spiritual knowledge, there is no peace. There is no question of happiness. And Lord makes that very, very clear in chapter 4 itself. And he says it's such a great power. But the only way to awaken the power, he says, is Shraddha. He's saying, by disciplining one's senses and by devotion to the Lord, the Gyana awakens in the heart. From Atman, it awakens. And once it awakens, it burns all the sins into ashes. All the karmas of thousands and thousands of births, all the sins that one has committed ever, they all get burnt into ashes, and man experiences intense peace and happiness. And that is the source of karma, what is the source of Gyana, and what is the power, what it does. Now, we'll talk a little bit more. Lord explains it in chapter 13 about Gyana and Agyana. He's saying Gyana is not what people usually think, scriptural knowledge, what you get out of studying scriptures, doing stuff. No, that's not Gyana. Lord says Gyana is equanimity in all circumstances, whether it is good, bad, in happiness, in misery, one who remains calm. He is a Gyani. Lord says one who knows The ultimate objective of life is realization of Brahman, realization of self. Enlightenment is the ultimate objective of life. He is a Gyani, one who has no pride, no arrogance, one who is detached. He is a Gyani. So Lord explains in details what is Gyana, and he's saying anything which is opposite of that is a Gyana. So Gyana essentially means a power that awakens in the heart of a person by which one can remain calm in the middle of all kinds of circumstances. One knows that the ultimate objective of life is spiritual realization, a realization of self, or Brahman, or enlightenment. And who knows that teachings of scriptures are the right path to follow. So that knowledge that awakens in the heart of a person by which one becomes absolutely sure of this is Gyana. And when Gyana awakens, as Lord explains in verse 4, in chapter 4, verse 37, 38, 39, saying it burns all the sins, all the karmas into ashes, and it gives the person absolute peace and happiness. And Lord says, without Shraddha it is not possible. So Shraddha is the foundation. So anyone who is a serious spiritual seeker must try to awaken devotion to the divine and discipline of senses. So sensory discipline and devotion to the God is very, very important for awakening the power of Gyana, a spiritual knowledge, to awaken that power in the heart. And it awakens through practicing part of yoga. Lord says, through the practice of yoga, it awakens slowly, slowly in the heart. And ultimately it becomes like a big fire in the heart. So he's saying that's the process. It awakens slowly, 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 as one keeps practicing yoga. And the primary practice is devotion to the Lord and discipline of senses. By no means I'm saying sensory discipline is easy, it is tough. But one needs to practice it. And one needs to develop devotion, Shraddha, faith towards divine. And through that, the Gyana is going to awaken. And now we'll talk about the objective of this Gyana. And Lord says in chapter 13, the ultimate objective of Gyana is realization of oneness with Brahman. He's saying that's the objective. That Brahman which is all pervading, by whose command the creation, the dissolution, the sustenance of the creation happens, who dwells in the heart of all living beings, and by whose grace one realizes immortality and becomes free from the cycle of birth and death, and who pervades us, who is within, which is without, and it pervades everything. The whole creation is within Brahman. So the ultimate objective of Gyana is to realize that Brahman within the heart of one's own self. So once one realizes oneness with Brahman, one realizes immortality, one realizes bliss. There is no more suffering. There is no more coming to the life of birth and death. One is free to choose whether one wants to manifest, one doesn't want to manifest, whatever one wants to do. But there is no more suffering. Suffering is gone forever. So that is what Lord says. But ultimately, he says all that can be attained once the Gyana awakens in the heart of the person. And what is the way the Gyana awakens? Is through devotion, through Shraddha, through devotion. And discipline. So discipline of senses, discipline of mind, because mind is also considered a sense organ. So all the senses of mind need to be disciplined, and one need to practice devotion to the Lord. And through that, Gyana awakens slowly, 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 slowly in the heart of a person. And once it awakens, it burns all the karmas, all the sins into ashes, and one experiences peace and happiness. And ultimately it leads to realization of oneness with Brahman, by which one gets freed from the cycle of birth and death, and one realizes one's own immortality. So there is no more fear of death. There is no more fear of sadness and suffering. One is constantly in place and always experiences bliss and happiness. So that's all about Gyana, the spiritual knowledge. I just wanted to clarify this because I have read this many times and I find it very, 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 very enlightening. So I thought I'll share with you all. Maybe it will be helpful to everybody. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.